Good evening and welcome to the Look Finance Southeast Queensland FC Preview Show with thanks to Vilic Law. Tonight, as usual, I've got Lliam and Tony joining me. Welcome, boys.
Good evening.
G'day, Joe.
Luckily enough, tonight with our rotating guests, we've got Rick joining us from Logan Lightning. Welcome, Rick. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, pleasure, mate. How you been?
Very well. Yeah, can't complain. Obviously, in the thick of it now, almost wrapping up the season, but yeah, going very well.
Oh, fantastic. Obviously, the boys all business coming into this back end.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, eye on the prize and trying to push through to the end. It's been a very, very long year, I think, for everybody. So, just push through and see what we can do.
Yeah, with that, I think it's always interesting, even before you entered the club, Logan's been pretty notorious for their long season starting in their early preseason, usually. When did you boys start? Did you actually start in 2019 or?
We started in November. So we come the last game of the season when we play away at Mitchelton. That'll actually be 12 months and 3 days after our first training session. So obviously a ridiculously long year for anybody, any club, you know.
Yeah, how's the experience been for you? Obviously a bit of a change.
Brilliant. Yeah, it was really. The club's been great. There's some really good people behind the scenes, really good squad. Obviously looking to compete at the top end and push on. Loving it and really enjoying being at the club and with some good people, you know.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, from that, we might jump into it. We'll start obviously in the NPL, somewhere that you may be joining shortly, but we'll chat to them while you're still not involved. So obviously tonight we've got some fixtures that are pretty important to the top of the table as well as the bottom. Gold Coast United, they're playing the derby against Knights as we speak, and then Brisbane City, they're taking on Power. So they're a bit interesting. Tony, you're obviously not keen to go out. How do you think that City Power game's going to go? Do you think City have a chance? It may be a bit hard because once people see this, the game will probably be over. Do you think City can maybe throw a spanner in the works?
Power have got too much to play for, I think, and I think City don't have the experience to combat. They'll still stay up. Redlands, I can't see Redlands winning another game.
Yeah, tough home run for them, and obviously less games than the other teams around them.
Yeah. Brisbane City, I think they've still got 2 games over Redlands at this stage, I think. So Redlands, they're on 21, I think. 21 games, I think, and City on 19. So, I mean, there's a couple of games there where City can get something out of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Rick, obviously with your expertise, how do you feel? There's always seems to be a bit of stigma over the leagues and that. Do you think with the quality of your play, you'd be quite competitive against some of these clubs at the moment, speaking hypothetically?
Look, we'd hope so. I think you'd obviously naturally want to add in a couple, 2 or 3, and just strengthen every single year. I'd certainly hope that we could compete. I think that's the objective if we get up, is to try and become a stable NPL team and then use that as a platform to push on. So I certainly think we tried to recruit this year with an eye to next year if we got the job done, and hopefully now we're pretty close. But yeah, I think we're in a good position to build on and hopefully become quite a competitive NPL outfit. Yeah.
Do you hope some of the boys will stay around? Obviously, for me, I think some awesome signings, and maybe I know in the previous life in the old QSL, Seb Usai played for Logan. You brought him back to Logan. That's a fantastic pickup. I believe you've got Reece Saunders there as well. He's come up from Melbourne. I know he's a Gold Coast boy. Yep. Do you hope to hold on to some of these boys for the 2021 season?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some NPL quality players. There's no doubt about that. Who have obviously played NPL, whether it be here or interstate. On top of a couple of the visa spots in terms of Connor Smith, who's obviously been around NPL for a number of years now. Liam Golden, who's come from the UK. So I think we've and Matty Green, obviously, as our centre back, who's been with Sydney FC, he's been with Oakley Cannons and NPL Vic, Gold Coast United strikers, Cootsie, and to name a few. Can go on, but we really wanted to build on that. So I think to go up, I would love to keep some of the pre-existing Logan boys and make sure that if they're the ones who have helped this club propel to the next stage, that they're also rewarded with playing NPL and pushing on. So I certainly would want to recruit, but keep the crux of the squad moving up.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's got to be one of the best contributions between yourself and obviously the boys at Southwest have done this season. There's been some good additions, but still plenty of homegrown talent through both of the club's development systems.
Yeah, for sure. I think Southwest Queensland are a really good example of that. I couldn't tell you for a fact the stats, but I'm pretty sure the vast majority of their squad is homegrown talent. And I think coming down into QPL, they've done a bloody great job with the squad that they've got in terms of being local boys. So I think that shows what can be there if you trust in your setup from within. Yeah,
absolutely. Moving on from there, we might check out the fixtures. Obviously, Saturday we've got a few, so it's a bit interesting. As I mentioned off the call, we've got the double header. We'll talk about the first game a little bit out of the FQPL at Perry Park, but obviously the second one there that evening is Strikers versus Redlands. So I think that's going to be a very interesting pressure situation for Redlands, obviously. The other games, we've got a couple of the other teams that are in action tonight. So East versus Gold Coast Knights and then Lions versus City. Is that game going to be possibly what it's been in the past, boys? Tony, I know you're pretty invested in some of these older derbies. You know, there's always that history to it. Do you think City's going to bring a bit of fight to Lions? Obviously, they stumbled on the weekend against Knights.
Look, that's the sort of game that everyone should lift. In the old days, they would, but there's so many player changes and things like that. I don't think some of the younger blokes know what that meant.
Mm.
It's like the City Olympic Games. Years ago, you'd get a heap of people there. Now there's hardly any Greeks in the Olympic team. There's hardly any Italians in the City team. So, yeah, I don't know. Look, City have to lift.
Absolutely. Obviously, everything's valuable at the moment. From those games, obviously, we move on to Sunday. So we got Moreton Bay Jets versus Gold Coast United, Raw versus Power, and Olympic versus Sunny Coast. Obviously, some of those games as well clashing with some other codes grand finals, but we won't discuss them. We won't give them the time. What do you guys think? Obviously, Brisbane Raw, youth, quality team, quality squad, they come up against Power. If the fixture goes Power's way, obviously Olympic is still leading in goal difference. Do you think this could be possibly one of the biggest tests? Liam, how do you feel? What do you think with the boys? Do you think this is...
I think Penn Power will easily walk away with it. Raw, you know, they've played some pretty good football this year. But you know, Penn Power again, you know, they got more to play for with this. So you know, I don't see Raw getting anywhere near them. I think I probably even predicting a bit of a blowout to Penn Power actually on this one, because you know it's getting the end of the season where Penn Power have really got to try and show their force, you know.
Absolutely. And then obviously that last game, we've got Olympic versus Sunny Coast. That's 6 o'clock Sunday. So obviously the pressure's on. I think the Power boys will be straight off the field and watching their phones, watching the live stream. It's getting to that time of year where, you know, it's the hours and minutes that are going to be the countdown to how the season actually wraps up.
Yeah. I just want to go back to that Redlands Strikers game there on the Saturday night. Again, you know, I'll reiterate like I have been the last few weeks. It's getting that end of the season where, you know, people or clubs have got something to play for. Redlands v Strikers, I think Redlands would probably think that this is probably their chance, knowing that possibly City may not get anything out of this game tonight against Penn Power. So Redlands may see this as an opportunity to really lift. Strikers, look, I really don't think that. Where are they in the ladder? They're seventh. So, I mean, you know, they're safe. Are they finals bound? Is it top 4? Is it top 6? I don't know. They haven't got much to play for apart from a bit of pride there. So, look, Redlands have got more to play for. So, I'd like to see Redlands get a result out of this.
Obviously, we want that excitement at the back end of the year. It's always great. We spoke about it with Graham the other week. It's always definitely that little extra something at the end of the year, regardless of how the finals go. Yep. And Rick, obviously yourself in the other end, you're in the good aspect. You're in the battle for promotion.
Yeah, I think it's some title race and relegation race in the NPL this year. I think obviously one going down is correct from NPL.
Yeah, one down, one up, I believe. Yeah,
there's meant to be a couple more at the start of the year from NPL, which would have obviously made it a lot more tighter. But I think obviously COVID then changed that. But one going down and obviously one up. It's tight. And top end of NPL, I think, Olympic are going to take some beating. I think Power are obviously, a very, very strong outfit. So, and obviously Lions and Knights, it's going to be some race to the finish.
Yeah. Well, moving on from there, obviously we jump into the FQPL. But before we get into that, obviously during the week we had announced from FQ the Festival of Football coming up. So we'll lead into that with the finals for the FQPL and NPL. And then there'll be an all-star team playing Brisbane Roar. And then we'll have the Queensland versus New South Wales game. I haven't read too much into this, Rick, but do you think your boys will be considered or any of the guys from the FQPL? Obviously, they try to put a blanket over it sometimes, but I think plenty of your boys can put their hands up if available.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. I probably read into it that it was NPL, not including the QPL boys. That was my assumption, just reading the notice, which is is what it is. But yeah, that's how I kind of read it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think obviously some experience there for the guys. I think it'd be good way for them to see some of the competition for next year. But maybe that's just me fantasy booking some of these games.
Yeah, possibly. It's also a good carrot for boys in the QPL. You want to get to the NPL to play in those bigger games and to play in those little catches at the end of the season. So I don't know if it's the worst thing, but yeah, I certainly read it as it was mostly NPL covered.
Yeah, well, that takes the wind out of my sails, but still, I can dream.
Fingers crossed, I'm wrong. Yeah.
So moving into the games, obviously, first one for the weekend's Southside Eagles versus Holland Park Hawks. So that's obviously the opener for the doubleheader between them, and then obviously that Strikers Redlands game. There's not much at stake here, but do you think these teams will be looking just for maybe a confidence boost, pick up some points? They've taken a bit of a battering through the year.
Yeah, of course. I think coming into the league, obviously as a new coach coming in, I think Holland Park were the team obviously that struggled big time last year. So I think Danny going into Holland Park has done a great job to steady the ship. They've picked up some good results. They've made life hard for teams playing them at home and away. So I think they've massively improved from what I've heard coming in. And obviously Southside have had it a bit rough this year, but at times they started strong, Southside, but obviously just didn't quite sustain it. But yeah, I think, like I said, pride and points and wanting to finish the season as strong as you can.
Yeah, I'm picking Holland Park to win this.
Yeah,
to win this game. Southside Eagles. I mean, they haven't looked anywhere near good enough this season. I don't know whether it was a drop in quality or what, but they've watching them. It's just the whole back line there, Southside Eagles there. Just it could do with a good revamp.
Obviously, I think the two other big games, it's kind of ironic. I know I was there for the reverse fixture of this one, but you're travelling out to Underwood Park on Saturday at 4:30, Rick.
Yeah.
Interesting year. Obviously, you had the opening of your complex, the update, some really good upgrades on the club this year. You guys got to play Underwood. I know you had your local member down to open up the field, and now you guys kind of get to return the favour in the local derby as they have their official unveiling.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I haven't been to the venue yet, but I've heard some good things, and I'm really looking forward to being there. And I think it'll be a great day for them as a club. I'm sure there'll be lots of supporters down there, and hopefully it'll be a good event for a derby day. I think everyone loves rivalries and derbies within sport, so. That falling on a grand opening day, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, great for the community. I know in the last one, I think you guys shared the spoils 0-0.
Yeah.
I think a bit of time's passed. It may be a bit of a different result, but we'll see how that goes, of course.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. It'll be a different game. Sorry.
Well, I'm just going to say, I've actually picked you over Rovers. Rovers have they've had a few. I reckon that they would probably consider their last few results, the last 3 or 4 weeks, a little bit disappointing. But look, I still got you to win on that one, Rick.
Sorry, say that again.
I've still got you to win that one, Rick.
Okay.
Over Rovers, Southside. They've had a few disappointing results. Lally Roachdale, they've kind of fallen down the ladder a fair bit, and I don't think Phil will be very happy, would he, boys?
No.
No, not at all. I think Tony's the least of his problems with Roach Day.
I think it'll be a different game to the first one round. I think they've obviously made a change recently with their coach. I think this will be the first game without Sturge as at the helm. So I think it will be a different outfit, a different energy. They'll rightly so want to do everything they can to put a dent in our promotion hopes, and back the other way, we'll certainly hope to try and spoil the party on their growing fan base. So I think it'll be a different game to the first time round.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, the other game coming a bit after yours at 6 o'clock will be Thunder taking on Wolves.
Yeah.
Are these two possibly the most dangerous teams in the competition at the moment? Obviously, Wolves have done a bit of climbing since returning back from the COVID break, and Thunder, they went into the break with the lead in the competition. Are these guys probably your biggest rivals at the moment? Are they the ones that you're planning for the most?
Yeah. So from my point of view, of course, Toowoomba sitting in second, they're obviously hot on our tails. So, they're obviously naturally our close competitors there. Wolves, the toughest game for us so far. I think Wolves are a fantastic team. I said it the first time round when we went in and played them. They were sitting around the bottom of the table when we first played them, but since then they've really took off, and they're a dangerous team. I think they'll definitely give Toowoomba a good run for their money. Yeah.
I remember being at the first game there, where first game back from COVID, it was Wynnum v Pride. And watching them come out the blocks the way that they did, I think they did my Pride boys 4-0 there. So, from then on in, they've just looked, unstoppable. So, but look, I've just got a question about Southwest Queensland Thunder. I think we mentioned it off the chat last week, Joey, about the amount of home games that they had at the start of the season. It's obviously now that it's now getting to the end of the season where all the fixtures are reversed. They've got a lot of away games. Do you think that's played into? Do you think that's had an effect on Southwest Queensland's results? Because they were flying. I mean, they're not doing bad by any means, but a few results there were a bit surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has to have some sort of effect. Constantly preparing for away games, constantly on the bus, up and down, long days. I think it's only natural that it takes its toll. But like I say, on the front end, they got a lot of home games.
Yep.
So they go into that situation with your eyes open. And you need to maximise the front end and be aware that might take its toll in the middle. And then it obviously works the reverse for all of us lot. But to answer your question, 100%, it simply has to, yeah. Because
they just started out of the blocks. I mean, when they dropped down, they certainly retained a lot of their squad from the NPL, so they were very familiar with each other's playing. But I was just curious to get other people's thoughts on that, because that's one of the things that I certainly noticed was I think they had like 5 or 6 straight home games at the start of the season. So just an interesting point.
I think it was something crazy like 9 or even away games on the bounce in the middle. They'll now finish at home for their last few games, but that many away games on the bounce up and down from Toowoomba. I would imagine it's taken its toll.
Sure.
So obviously that's the other game Saturday night probably to watch out for. But with it, we also rounded out. We've got Souths taking on Sunshine Coast. That's at 6:30 at Souths. Then Mitchie take on Knights. That's at 7 o'clock. And obviously Pride with the bye for the weekend.
Yep. Now Knights for me with that one. This is another big game. Mitchie, I think they should be safely. I think their spot's pretty much cemented in the top 4 there. The Knights, again, just 1 point below Pride, the local rivals. They'll be wanting to get ahead of Pride. So I've actually picked Knights to win this one on Sunday. So yeah.
Ooh, that's a big call. I think that'll be interesting for
them. Well, I think
that off.
I generally think that with coming to the end of the season, they've still got a lot to play for. They still got to cement their spot. They've got Rovers just behind. They've got Pride 1 point ahead. And Pride have obviously got have obviously got the bye, so there'll be no points out for them this weekend. So if they can jump Pride coming into the Pride Knights Derby in a couple of weeks, I think there's a lot to play for Knights, and I think they'll be up for it. Well,
depending how the pieces fall, that could possibly mean fourth place if Wynnum can't pick up any points, of course, against Thunder.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, it's a lot to play for with that one, boys.
Absolutely. We'll jump into something a bit more foreign than you used to, Rick, and we'll look at, obviously, the Brisbane competition. So we've had a bit of a discussion last week, and obviously they've been split off into their Premier competition and plate competition as they play out their round robins to the end of the season. In the Brisbane Premier League Premier Division, that's a bit too many premiers for me. Saturday, we've got Ace taking on Taringa, St. George taking on Grange, and then Sunday, we've got Toowong taking on Centenary. So there was a pretty good game last week. I think an 8-goal thriller between St. George and Taringa. And St. George have actually had 2 of their players punted in that game. So pretty good result to come away with the 3 points after losing 2 players. But once again, I guess it shows that grit that they've got because they're that one team left in Brisbane that still hasn't dropped a point, let alone had a loss. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later with one of the other clubs that had that record. But, I think that's going to be an interesting one for the BPL.
Yeah, is it St. George 11 from 11? I mean, that's just incredible. Next one close is Albany Creek 11, 8 wins and played 11. So yeah, look, they're just they're really the informed team out of the season, aren't they? And I see them being untouchable for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that may be the chance, but they're the only team able to possibly go on to be the Invincibles in Brisbane. But very hard task, nevertheless. In the plate competition for the BPL, we've got all the games on Saturday. So Bayside are taking on Brisbane Knights, Caboolture are taking on North Star, and Gap are taking on Acacia Ridge. Obviously, in the Cap 1 Prems, we've got UQ taking on Spirit, Mount Gravatt taking on Lakes. That's another community event. I think Mount Gravatt, forgive me, I've forgotten the year, but they're actually celebrating an anniversary of the club. So that'll be a pretty big game for them. Really good celebration. Seems to be a lot going on this weekend in terms of these events, but it's a good thing to see in Cap 1 and see what obviously they've got going on for the day down there. Then that final game is actually 2v1. Brisbane Athletic takes on Sanford.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Terry better be on his game with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think they're the teams that have been battling it out on top. It's kind of been a 2-horse race there, but I think that's definitely going to be the game of the round for the Cap 1 competitions.
Yep.
Then it's
cracker.
Yeah.
When's on?
Sorry, Tony?
When is that Sanford game on?
That's 6 o'clock Saturday. So during the AFL Grand Final, I believe, that should be around the time they're handing out the winners medals.
No, the AFL starts at 6:30.
Oh, is it 6:30? Okay. I've just passed my bedtime to see Richmond get home. And then in the play competition for Cap 1, we got New Farm taking on Ipswich City, Virginia taking on Annalee, and then North Pine taking on AC Carina. And then I think apologies to the Cap 1 competition, but I think I'm chomping at the bit to get to Cap 2.
Yes.
This is very interesting. Tony, do I ask you about this, or do I ask Lliam about it?
Ask Tony. Seniority.
Tony, what are your thoughts, brother?
On my way home on Sunday, I rang Leo and I said, I haven't seen the theme song. What happened?
And what did he tell you?
He said they were right in the game, and he thought that the sent-off was the big turning point in the match.
Did he tell you what it was for? Obviously, I haven't seen this far into it. I've only just found out.
4-letter word in football Brisbane is 4-week suspension.
4 weeks? Oof.
Oh, well, that's what's happened with other players. 1 week for every letter.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. Now I know you're just making that up, Tony.
Well,
I think we all know what that one is. And Yeah, we'll leave it at that. It's been I think that's something that maybe on the board might go in the suggestion box for FB or FQ about how we look into this, because it's been a hot topic, I think, that 4-letter word across most competitions. I don't know, Rick, have you been affected by that at all in any of your games? How have you found it?
No, yeah, I haven't been too affected and hasn't really come up in any of the games we've been in. Yeah, no, but I don't mind the rule that Tony just chucked out there.
Yeah, but that's obviously an interesting one. It's maybe keep the comments to themselves until it's safe. But yeah, that result, I got to say, I didn't realise this, but for me, I think one of the great goal scorers, especially coming from the West, Peter Drager, banging in 2 goals. I didn't realise he was out and about still, but he was only just playing last year, I believe, at Mitchelton.
Yeah.
So Ripley, obviously, little quiet pickup that not too many people have heard from. Pete Drager, one of the tallest strikers getting around. 2 goals. So that was an interesting one.
Now, yeah, I tell you what, Ripley Valley is just that little club that can, they're only new, they've climbed in from Cap 3 to Cap 2. They're third in the ladder. They've played some great football, and they're third on the ladder. And I'm really proud of those boys. It's they're certainly representing the Ipswich region really well, and I wish them all the best for the rest of the season. I'll try and get out to some of those games when I can there, but obviously with their ground being worked on, you've got to try and travel around South East Queensland a bit to try and find where they are. But it's always proud of any of the Ipswich clubs.
Yeah, good stuff from them. So obviously the fixtures for that Cap 2 Prem competition, we got Newmarket to take you on Pine Hills, Ripley take you on Moggle, and then Slacks Creek take you on Logan Metro.
Yep.
Tony, what are your thoughts? Do you think they're still going to power on? This is just a speed bump for them, or what are your thoughts, mate? Tony, is Leo still confident?
They've only got to win 2 of their next, 4 games left?
3 games now, I believe, because they'll only play 5 in this round robin format.
Well, that was the first one, so that'll only 4 left.
Yeah, well, 4 from this weekend. Yeah, correct.
Win 2 of those. You would think market today, this week, you would think. Yeah, I still think they'll win it.
No, well, yeah, I don't think there's much debate to that, but I think the biggest shock's just obviously any points being dropped. So I think as always, we'll keep a close eye on Pine Hills and that competition and see how it's going. But obviously a big scout for Ripley. Oh, yeah. So that was, I think that'll be maybe the confidence builder leading into the back end of the year, and plenty to take out of that. Obviously, the other shout out, I know it wasn't in their Capital League comp, but I really want to do a shout out to Slacks Creek. Obviously, if anyone saw, both Football Brisbane as well as the SEQ page shared the incident that required a defibrillator, and obviously came out quite well, but pretty scary circumstance. And I know, regardless of what we all think about different things in football, obviously something that we can be very thankful of, and a good reminder, obviously, to be safe and have that first aid equipment and training and everything up to date, because, super important. Very scary things that you can go through, but luckily a good result, and shout out to them for obviously doing the best they could and doing well. And then obviously, moving on after that note, looking into the plate side of the competition, Westside will take on Oxley. Then Sunday, Barton will take on KPR. North Brisbane will take on Clairvaux. Down to the very bottom end, it's a bit interesting, bit of an enigma at the moment. I couldn't find out any homework to figure out one of these fixtures. But in Cap 3, we've got Willowburn taking on Logan Village. Redcliffe take on Jimboomba. And then obviously the replay, it's tied at the top of Cap 3. Still on equal points, Narangba and Springfield. Just that superior goal difference. To be announced. So I think this could be the game of the season to determine it in Cap 3, and we got to wait out to see what's going on. But maybe a good little plug for the page. Obviously, the voting's still open for Cap 3 Player of the Year, but hopefully we can see our little contest, because it's that battle as well at the top. Declan Murphy, captain of Springfield United, he's leading the charge in the polls, with Jamie Hillier coming second from Narangba. So I think either way, there's a battle on between these 2 clubs at the moment.
What's the fixture details on that one, on Joey? Is that out at Springfield or up at Narangba or?
So that'll be a Narangba home game. So Springfield
bugger.
have to travel. Yeah, Springfield have to travel again. So second time this year they'll have to travel out to Narangba. Yeah. So that's a decent road trip, that one. But yeah, that one's TBA still, so it's up there on the results as December 31st. So
okay,
we'll find that out shortly enough. But I think that'll be definitely a game to watch when it does come around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then finally, obviously, wrapping up the Cap 3 is the plate competition. So Northlake Mustangs take on Tarragindi, Park Ridge take on Brighton, and then Bethania take on Teviot. So I think plenty of good games through the Capital Leagues at the moment, as well as what we've got in the NPL and FQPL. So
I think this weekend too. Well, probably big shout out to the weather as where this is going to head, because we're supposed to be getting a bit of rain this weekend. So I think we're going to have to keep an eye on the fixtures as well this weekend if we get too much rain. That's just a random thought that just popped into my head, by the way.
Next week. Yeah.
Why have the week off last week? We haven't had any rain for 10 months.
Yeah.
So why did we have a week off for weather?
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the grounds, it depends on the grounds, I suppose. Some of the grounds are owned by local councils, and at the end of the day, it's the councils that will have the say whether or not they actually can play them or not.
Either way, Tony, I'm not important or smart enough to understand these questions, mate. So I'll leave that to you and your thoughts, mate.
We've had a year that we've stopped for a break.
Yeah.
Having weeks off. We're going into November. We've got 3 other games, representative games, all-star games, all this other craziness going on. They'll finish in December.
Yeah.
And most clubs will start pre-season training in January.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where are we going?
Well, again, I don't think, like I said, some of those grounds aren't owned by the actual clubs.
Depends on the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the weather.
5 drops of rain and they'll be all off this week. You watch Friday, they'll call them all off and we'll go again.
Well, it'll be good to see your face for a few more weeks then, Tony, on Skype. Get to see you in a Santa suit, mate.
Yeah. Christmas parties at the grand final.
Joey, just one thing we didn't touch on last week. Again, I obviously came in too late. Was the Golden Boots?
Yeah. Really?
So NPL is it still Joe Duckworth for NPL? I think it is.
Joey's up there. Jace McQuarrie, I heard in the live stream, he's sitting second, I believe, but he hasn't scored a goal in the last 3 games.
Right. Okay. Yep. And FQPL is Yuta Hirayama for Pride, followed very closely by your 2 boys there, Rick, Adam, and Jed. Have you been happy with their games this season? I mean, obviously they're almost leading the Golden Boot there, so I assume the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've been to us. Obviously, picking up 20 goals between them is huge for the year in 16 games so far. So, obviously, massive, and they've worked so hard all year. And like every team now, we're pushing on to nearly 12 months of training, and they're still here 3 times a week pushing it out. They've been fantastic all year. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're only 1 point behind Utah. So, if Utah can stay fit for Pride, that's another battle that we should all keep an eye on. I think Light certainly will, being a Pride boy. But yeah. Anyway, I just thought it'd be good to bring it up because we missed that last week because there was nothing to talk about with FQPL.
Well, here I was. I thought Pride had the week off, but still got a good mention.
There you go, mate. Always throwing them in there. You know that, Joey.
We'll never go wandering, mate.
Got to support him. Rick, just before we go, I was just wondering, obviously you've had a bit of time in Queensland now. You've seen our state competitions. How have you found them? How have you adjusted? Do you think, obviously, there's another 2 big comps. Melbourne's been halted this year. How do you think we stack up in your experience?
So obviously, previous to Devonport Strikers, I was at Gold Coast United with the under-20 youth team, and so closely linked to the first team, albeit not the first team coach. So I've been around and seen the NPL Queensland for the last few years, and previous to that, I was up and around the Gold Coast, the Gold Coast City, and the state team. So I've been around and involved in football here. So I think it's been good to see the progression of the state in terms of its football in the landscape. I think the Lions have done a great job in being the benchmark of that in terms of the National Premier Leagues and so forth, and obviously strikers and Olympic and the FA Cup. I think Queensland is brimming with talent right now, and I think it'll be giving New South Wales and Victoria a run for its money every year now, for sure.
Well, I think with a lot of the players, because of Victoria and the predicament that they're in, a lot of those guys that play in Victoria have come north again, back to their home state, and have certainly put their stamp on the game. So you'd like to think that that's really going to play well into that kind of state of origin. Well, I don't. I'm never using that phrase again for football. Just shoot me. But
all stuff.
Yeah, all stuff. I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, you'd like to think that with them still playing and been playing in some top clubs there, that it's only just going to add to that New South Wales, Queensland, competition there.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think there's no denying it's certainly got better over the years. I think you speak to most players and coaches around the traps, and everyone's in agreement that NPL Queensland in particular has really taken off the last few years, and hopefully it just continues. Yes, it's certainly a space to watch.
Yeah, I mean, especially with strikers doing so well in the FFA Cup it's certainly got a lot of eyes up north, which is great news for our football.
Obviously now there's promotion relegation, and quite consistently year in year out. I think that's obviously only good for the game. So hopefully whatever reforms comes next from FQ, they keep that alive and make sure that there's healthy promotion and relegation and competition for teams to vie to get into the NPL, because it has to be the benchmark for the state.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting conversation, especially with with Darren when they start talking on the other chats about the women's competition with the announcement this week. So if you're watching this and you want to get an idea of what's going on there, I think there'll be a fair bit to talk about with them on the women's chat whenever that is.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, talking about interstate, I might check in. Tony, you always seem to be the man in the know as well for myself. Have you heard anything out of Melbourne? How are those boys going? How are those clubs holding up? Are they just chomping at the bit to get back into it here, and lockdown's going to ease up soon?
I would say that there'll be a lot of players from Brisbane heading to Melbourne once that comp starts.
So do you think maybe the reverse, I know we had a lot of boys come home and we're very fortunate, boys and girls, come home and we're very fortunate to see them join our. Do you think that'll be the reverse once the Victorian NPL opens up? Yeah,
I think most of them will go back. Well, there's a boy at the Lions, is it Marko Jankovic?
Yeah, Marko, yeah.
He's already signed for South Melbourne.
There you go. Already thinking ahead.
And there's others involved, and I know a couple of boys at Olympic have had little feelers out from clubs in Melbourne.
Oh, well, obviously, Olympic, they did really well. I know Ben had some good acquisitions there to strengthen his team coming into this back end of the year. So, just on their performance alone, even if they weren't involved with that comp, I think there'll be definitely plenty of ears pricking up to hear what they're intending on doing.
I would say look, I just don't know whether the money's going to come from in Brisbane.
No, fair enough. It's I think that's always one of those ones we come down to that lowest denominator, and that seems to be the thing that makes or breaks some of the players hanging around. But I think we'll continue developing as a comp, and there's definitely plenty of positives getting around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. From that, boys, we might wrap up this evening. Rick, once again, thank you for joining us. Great having you on, mate.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, we'll see you out at Briggs Road in a couple of weeks, eh?
Looking forward to it. Absolutely.
No worries.
Oh, awesome. Good luck for the weekend, Rick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joey, I'll see you Sunday.
I'll see you Sunday, Tony. Tony, thank you again. Liam, thank you.
No worries.
Enjoy your weekend, boys. We'll see you all soon.
No worries.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.